sent off to.
Yeah.
This one's sports related. This one's leadership related. See, I'm the youngest. I am the youngest of 5.
Okay.
And I'm the runt. I'm the smallest and the weakest of 5.
We beg to differ on the weak stuff now. Come on.
Yeah. So I mean, well, in comparison, I would say my 2 oldest brothers, for a comparison, they're one of those just, as they refer to around here, country strong. Just
yeah.
Gorillas with hands that can talk to you. No, just they don't have to worry about technique so much. They can just muscle through it.
Yeah.
Whereas, lightweights like me, we have to use every trick in the book to just try to be average,
I'm well aware of that one.
Yes.
I own several of those trick books, so.
They work, definitely. It is, so that my sports, again, were just the generic, team sports, track, cross-country, basketball, baseball, different things growing up.
Yeah.
Nothing really ever clicked, simply because, again, I understood the area I'm in. I'm from out of country. I had a very distinct accent.
Yeah.
And thankfully, my mother, who was she's retired, but she was a speech pathologist for 35 years.
Okay. So
I often get mistaken for either you're not from around here or why do you talk that strangely? There's not a very distinct draw here.
Yeah. I was gonna say you don't have a southern sound to you.
Very much so. Just like anything, even adults, if they're not familiar with it, or if you're not if you're something they're not comfortable with, therefore cautious. What are you? Who are you?
Yeah.
I've come to learn that I'm just kind of the odd man out.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like my basic understanding of using your body for exercise, just sports.
Right.
But as like a structured program or anything, no, it was just go run wind sprints until you throw up. Okay, then run 10 more.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. You bang your head and blood's coming out of your ear. Okay, put a Band-Aid on and go walk it off.
Yeah.
That was it. So all the things like you and I touched on in terms of mobility, efficiency of movement, modalities, recovery, even when I had the opportunity to discuss the basics of when to apply heat or cold, depending on the type of issue going on with Stacy Burr. That was great because, again, I could talk shop, I could talk the ins and outs.
Yeah.
But I was teaching her what I had been taught, when to apply for a specific type of, I won't say injury, but just impingement.
Yeah.
When and why you would apply it, as opposed to here's the general safe. You do ice baths when you have this kind of stuff going on, and then you do Epsom salt baths. It's like you take the tools, but you can actually use what's in there and specifically apply to get better recovery, more efficient recovery, so you don't have to stop what you're doing.
Yeah.
I think that's a big thing that a lot of people have to realize. You can actually use a program, and you can use the recovery protocols. You can use trigger point therapy to actually help you stay within your programming, within your set timeline for whatever goal or objective you have. You don't have to stretch it out 16 weeks. Now, if you have an injury, you didn't catch it in time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's one thing I think, and I assume you follow Clint Darden.
Yes.
He's been very vocal here lately because he's signed up for the Mobility WOD website, which I've been a member of it for quite a while now. But he's actually promoting it to his clients. And if they sign up for 6 months of Mobility WOD, I think he, knocks X amount off of programming for his clients. Which to me, I know it takes a hit some ways on the back end, but the risk versus reward factor on that one, he's educating his clients. And he's not doing it on his own. He's actually doing it, via the Kelly Starrett setup already, but he's educating his clients in their training modules. So for him to step up and do that, I think, is another one that it's great to see a veteran in the sport, and not just somebody who's been a strongman, but somebody who's been, I believe, if I remember right, he also is a black belt judo. I want to say, So, I mean, it's not just him being strong, but it's him being able to still do his martial art. So, yeah, that's good. Sorry, I just lost my train. I was looking over my notes here. I go down my list of questions over here, and it's like, okay, we covered that. Wow, okay, I didn't even have to ask that one, and he covered it. So,
yes, sir.
But yeah, you talk about being able to catch, in some ways, the injuries before they happen, and if you allow your body the chance to take advantage of trigger point, massage therapy, chiropractic care, mobility, yoga, whatever it is that's going to help you. And I'm not saying everybody should do mobility WOD. I'm not saying everybody should do trigger point therapy. But if it fits into what you are trying to do and you like it and you're going to do it, then that's just another weapon in your arsenal that you're taking advantage of to help with your longevity in our sport. Not in strongman only, but in all the strength sports, and actually virtually in almost every sport out there. I mean, so. And the biggest, and I think the biggest thing for our conversation tonight too is I saw your video post last night talking about the precursor to what we were going to be discussing a little bit more in depth tonight, and we'll go ahead and get to that topic because I think when you brought it up to me and we're talking about it, it's just like this is just great because there was a pro strongman I wanted to have on here who was very, very forthcoming about mental disorders and anxiety issues like that. Sadly, I can't get him on here due to contracts with one of his sponsors, and that's fine. I understand it, and it's all good. But it's something in this in life in general, not just the strength sports, but because we are a small community, we are a small percentage of the population, and when people think of strong people, powerlifters, strongman, crossfitters, anybody throwing weight up over their head, they think that these are just brave, strong people who, can take a bullet and keep on going. And we know firsthand that that's not the case. We see it all the time. But, whether it's depression or anxiety or substance abuse. Our athlete, Justin Fisher, he's very open to talking about his issues with substance abuse, and he's been sober now for a long, long time. So, we have all had something in our life that, whether it be one of the things that I mentioned or something else, abusive relationships or whatever. How has fitness, we discussed that it kind of, had you not found it, the position in life that you would have right now, but how do you feel fitness has truly helped you steer clear from that type of lifestyle or falling back into that type of lifestyle, also dealing with, the anxieties of life?
Wow. And again, Chris, this is, I've talked at some bits and pieces, even my bride, my wonderful wife, who I've been with for 10 years, that she knows a lot, but she doesn't have the full story. Mm-hmm. So it's, but I think being encouraged by her, by close friends, and and then for that happen chance, you and I had that conversation, it just clicked.
Yeah.
I truly want to be helpful for someone, whether it's through kinesiology, whether it's through just exercise and doing some kind of physical expression, whatever it is. I think the fact that with my particular history, again, it's very narrow. I cannot speak for many, but for mine, it was at a very early age, I was given diagnosis for, the atypical rambunctious kid just being a kid, but they wanted to put a diagnosis on it. Uh-huh. So pills were quite literally shoved down my throat 2 to 3 times a day.
Yeah.
The long-term studies coming out from these particular pills have shown to actually chemically throw off an individual for their lifetime.
Yeah.
Serotonin, endorphins, and all the rest. I'm not saying that's the entire picture, but it more likely exacerbated what was going to be there more so.
Yeah.
So my coping mechanisms were not the best. It was very much because, I think in terms of different cultural identities, bipolar sort of cultural interactions, two very different languages, and my coping was I would literally regress. I would get hyper anxious. It would develop into anger issues. I would lash out, not just in terms of like being angry, but I'll give you an example. There was a young kid. I had not been in America long, and he made a very specific, particular racial derogatory slur at me. And switch completely went. I remember taking this gentleman, this young kid, we're like 12 or 13. I picked him up out of the chair, and I'm slamming him repeatedly into a tile floor, just picking his body up and slamming, because it had that overwhelming anger had taken in. And so that's when it started heavily being introduced to Ritalin, Cymbalta, antidepressants, anti-anxiety, literally turning me into a zombie that I unfortunately cannot remember a lot of my teenage years.
Yeah.
Because I was completely out of it. I then had a nervous breakdown in high school, and I was committed.
Okay.
That was the first time I ever noticed like what getting clean actually felt like. And that, in terms of clean, I mean all of the medications, all of the stuff they had me on got out of my system.
Yeah.
And even to this day, it's actually some of the best sleep I ever got in my life. So when you're literally the crap is out of your system, you kind of feel all right. It's great.
Yeah.
And so later on, I had gotten better about my anger, about my coping issues, about the severe highs of like being hypermanic to deep bouts of depression, suicidal thoughts, suicidal attempts. Thankfully, I was not successful on those. And then I was given a diagnosis in college of from everything we're seeing, evaluation tests, you have what we call borderline personality disorder.
Right, yeah.
Which you understand that's kind of in the realm of bipolar disorder.
Exactly, yep.
And for some reason, the thought clicked in my head, like, even if that's true, I'm going to refuse to be named or designated by your diagnosis. And granted, at that time was when, all right, cocaine's going to help, ketamine's going to help, alcohol's going to help. I don't need to take this. This is so you see that again, poor decision making.
Yeah.
And so going through these experiences, again, long-winded answer. I was given the gift of exercise because that's what resonated with me. In other words, I was given something where I could have control. I could change the variables. I could go in, even like the video I made recently, where I didn't have the energy. I did not have the motivation.
Yeah.
I literally felt...
My dog's in here.
Yep. I see the fur baby. We have several ourselves. They're all scratching at the door right now, wanting to get in and see Dad. But seeing the fact that if you can give the gift of empowerment to someone, then that is like the greatest satisfaction. You have given someone else their own belief in themselves, and that's what I was given.
Right.
Through that. Now, again, I'll be biased. I say everyone should have some type of exercise. Does it have to be at a gym? No. Does it have to be at a Zumba class? No. Does it have to be at yoga? No. Does it have to be at RKC or what? No. But I am very much in line where, someone who influenced sort of a philosophy behind what I approach, Bruce Lee. I would want everyone to find that physical expression, not the pretentious, billboard. Here's the facade of being being expressed. Like, no,
Yeah.
truly express, not just anger or happiness, but like hearing